Hello everybody, welcome to the Red Men TV. My name is Dan Clubb and I'm joined by Shaun Millea, the author of Hillsborough, When Will Dad Be Home? One boy's story of a tragedy. And this is a Liverpool library with a little bit of a twist, as you'll find out along the way. First and foremost, Shaun, how are you, mate? You okay?
I'm really good, yeah, and thanks for inviting me in to talk about the book.
Absolutely, our pleasure, 100%. Don't worry about that. I want to take you back right to the start, really, in terms of the book and how it all came about. I mean, listen, the events live long in the memory around here, of course you do, and beyond. But what sort of inspired you to write this book? Is it something you've always wanted to do, something you always had in mind? How did it come?
It came about almost by accident, really. I've written other children's books in the past, and I was reading one of them in Toxteth Library, a group of kids, like I used to go around doing readings. And on the day, it was a summer's day, I had shorts on and I had a pair of socks on, which just happened to be Liverpool socks. And in the break, the woman that worked in the library stopped to talk about football and got talking, and she was telling me about her auntie that lived in Bath and that had come up for the weekend and brought the kids, and he went and done the tour of Anfield, went all around the ground, done the trophy room, got to the Hillsborough Memorial, and the two little kids said to the mum, "What's it for?" And the mum said, "I don't know." And I was gobsmacked. I was saying, what? Someone outside the city doesn't know what this means. So at the time, Dan, I was teaching. So when I went into the school on the Monday, I was teaching a group of year 6 kids who were aged 10, 11. And I said, can anyone tell me what Hillsborough means to them? So being kids, all the hands go up, they're excited. And out of 30 kids, I reckon 5 maybe got close, but a million miles away. And I thought, this is wrong, this is a story that's got to be told. Future generations can't forget this. And I know there's loads of books out there about Hillsborough, but I've never felt that it's something that a young kid would pick up and want to read, because it's just too highbrow, I suppose. Yeah. So I've written my book from the point of view of 9-year-old Frankie, and it is sort of written through his eyes. So it's definitely geared for kids, but it's also for adults as well because of the subject matter. And it's not so much about the justice campaign and all that. It's not really about that. What it's about is the impact on Frankie, his little sister, his mum and dad, his auntie and his uncle, just that family, and how they cope. And the ramifications of losing the dad, especially at such an early age, plus the ramifications for the mum. All the bills are hers now. The way the whole concept of the family changed through that one tragedy.
Yeah, most definitely, yeah. I mean, I said in the intro there almost, you do take it for granted. You just expect a story of this magnitude, something so seismic and something so powerful as well, and of course so harrowing. You do expect almost automatically that it would transcend Liverpool, but quite clearly it doesn't, because you say there's people from Bath, not a million miles away by any stretch of imagination, who don't fully understand the ramifications and what it meant to the city and just how impactful it was, or don't understand at all, don't have any concept of it whatsoever. So you're absolutely spot on. It's crucial that the memory of such events in Hillsborough lives on and that the story remains being told. And as you say, where better to do it than children, essentially, and into kids, and into schools. That's absolutely massive. It's massive. It's imperative. And on that note, actually, it's a big part of the book and release of the book was getting it into schools and getting it taught into schools as well. I know you were sort of in behind the campaign amongst that. I know Ian Byrne, who we know quite well as well, was a big push on that in Parliament and stuff like that. I mean, how does all that come about, and how much success have you seen from that?
Surprisingly, quite a lot. It was Kevin Roach, who's the publisher of the book, who's done an awful lot behind the scenes. And it was him that got in touch with Ian Byrne, because he knew Ian Byrne was, the real Truth legacy. And Ian Byrne was looking for a book, like a gateway book, and he said, he got in touch with Ian and said, we've got one already written out. It was written by a teacher, so he's got lesson plans for it. Anything you need, we've got. So he called us in to see what we had, and he was over the moon with it. He said, this is it. This is what I've been waiting for, and this has saved me an awful lot of time and effort because it's there. And were we willing to give him it? And we just said, yeah, you can have it. We don't want nothing. Take the book, take the lesson plans, do what you want. And as you mentioned there, it was a question that he asked in the Houses of Parliament. And my book is now, it's not on the national curriculum, but it's on the curriculum in Merseyside. So every school in Merseyside now, there's a drop-down box on the computer, and my book's on there. So it's on there for them, the future generations thing. But ideally, we're trying to get proper hard copies into school. So we're working with the LFC Foundation, who are delivering lessons on Hillsborough and using my book, taking the book in
So that's the plan now. Like, I know I can talk further in a minute about why we're going to fund it.
No, absolutely, yeah. And I know obviously the LFC Legends game was just this weekend gone, and a big part of their drive right now is the education programme. So I imagine that comes hand in hand with what you're saying.
Yeah, very much so.
That's incredible.
Well, that's another reason behind the book. I mean, I wrote it initially for the reason I told you, about the woman didn't know, and I'm thinking, oh my God, what's going on? Got to tell the world. But also, Stephen Coppick, who died at Hillsborough, was a mate of mine. We were only mates from when we were like toddlers up until we left primary school, so 11, because we went our separate ways then. But when his name was read out, I thought, my God, he's one of our gang. All right, I haven't seen him for years, but he's still one of our gang. So the book was dedicated to him. And we were with Margaret Aspinall the other week, because she's behind it 100%. Like, and she was saying about the tragedy chanting, and that's another reason behind the hard copies into school, because if a kid takes the book home and reads it at home, hopefully someone else picks it up. And if they don't, and the kid goes to match with the dad, their uncle, whoever, and they start the tragedy chanting, then I want the little kid to say, Dad, remember that book we read? Yeah. Remember that little boy who lost his mum and, lost his dad and that? So that's the reason behind it. And also, Dan, it's not just Liverpool. It's Man United with Munich. It's Rangers with Ibrox. It's Bradford with the Fire. It's all tragedy chant. It's just got to be eradicated. Yeah. And if it means educating, then, educate.
No, 100%, yeah. And unfortunately, that term tragedy chant is one we're all too familiar with, not just years gone by, but all too recently as well. We've seen enough of that. You mentioned a moment ago, obviously, the perspective of a young lad and how that's very unique in the way it's written and stuff like that. What was it you mentioned? Is that a lot of books about Hillsborough, lots been said and written, and rightfully so, about Hillsborough, to make sure we never forget what happened on that day. What was it that made it so special to you, or made it so important to you to write it from a lad's point of view?
It was the shock of being told by the woman whose auntie was from Bath, which shocked me enough. But going into my own school in the middle of Garston, where these kids are all aged 10, 11, and none of them knew. And I'm thinking, if you don't know, do your parents know? Because the parents are only young. So it was that was the impact that really made me think, if you want to change anything, you've got to change it with the kids. You've got to change it with the youth. It's the only way. Yeah. You've got to work on the future generations coming through. Yeah. And that way the word will get spread. And going back to that, I go back to Aberfan, which I don't even know if you know yourself, but Aberfan was a terrible thing that happened in the 60s. I wasn't born, but I know about Aberfan. I know all the kids that were killed in Aberfan through the coal that slid down the mountain, because my mum and dad told me, and my sisters told me, and my brothers told me, and that's exactly what I want with this book. I want them to pass that story down, or in my case, pass the story up almost, from young to old.